welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm here today with my co-host, Kelly Sarlo. We are the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thanks for listening, guys. Hey, Kelly, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Alex. How are you?
Good, excited. As you know, we've recently been taking people into our newest cohort of our Fat Loss Forever program. So this is exciting. We only do this a few times a year, and it's always fun getting a few people or five or so people on board at the same time because they support and motivate and excite one another. I mean, it's not that we certainly won't bring people into the program here and there in between cohorts, but it's always exciting when a whole cohort starts at the same time. So we're kind of riding that high and that excitement as we look forward to seeing people crush their next 90-day journey with us.
I also find, correct me if I'm wrong, if I see it kind of reinvigorate current clients when a cohort comes in.
Totally. Yeah. It's, I mean, everybody who starts a journey should be aware of the fact that you're going to see the fastest progress in the beginning, and that's exciting. There's no way around that. That's exciting. And so when people are getting wins and celebrating wins, it's like, oh, that's that kick in the ass I needed. I want those wins. I want that feel good. So yeah, it does give people a boost, and it's great. It's great for everybody.
Yeah. And I find that current clients too are really excited to share their knowledge, to share, not to make it about them, but just to kind of reflect on how far they've come and how much knowledge they've really absorbed and implemented. I think it's a really good process for everyone.
I think that's one of the things that makes our community really unique, is that we do lean on the members a lot for their knowledge, because you can, and I tell this to everybody when they're looking at our program, you can for sure reach out to me and ask me questions along the way, but different viewpoints are going to be so beneficial. I mean, we primarily work with women, and obviously I'm not. So I might not have all of the experiences that you're going to encounter on your journey. I mean, I've got a ton of experience in this industry. I have tons of experience working with these clients, but it might be beneficial for you to hear it from somebody else, to hear it from a different viewpoint, even if it's the same thing reworded. That's what I really love about our community. Everybody's so happy to help and get involved and share their experience.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, this is exciting for everyone.
Yeah.
Awesome. What do you have today?
Today is your topic, and you are going to ask me some mystery questions that I wasn't allowed to prepare for. So I'm excited to hear where this goes.
Yes, I am prepared. Okay, so it was a really long weekend. Okay, so I wanted to talk today about how to choose a weight loss program.
Okay.
And I wanted to, I guess, more or less interview you and ask you a bunch of questions that some people might not know how to reflect upon themselves in this process of choosing. Okay. So the first one is pretty broad, and maybe we can go back and forth, or maybe you'll just crush it. The first question is, what kinds of questions should we be asking as a potential client?
Cool. First thing I think you should be asking yourself is why am I stuck? Why am I here? And what do I hope to get out of this? So I say, why am I stuck? What is the reason that you feel like you can't do this on your own? Cool. I think it's important to identify that right away. Do you want to dig into that, or what do you want to do here?
Yeah, actually, the first thing that I love that you brought up is it's not even questions to the potential coach, it's questions of your own self. And maybe we can dig into both sides of that. If I think about answering the question that you're posing to yourself is, why am I stuck, or why don't I feel like I can do it on my own? I think about, is it that I have a lack of knowledge and I really just don't have the direction? I don't know which direction to go in. Or is it that I know what I need to do, but I need the accountability because I'm not giving that to myself.
Yeah, you nailed it. It almost always comes down to lack of knowledge or lack of consistency, which directly brings us to accountability typically. So you either don't know what you need to do, or you do know what you need to do, but you're not doing it consistently, or a combination of the two. I mean, sometimes there's some middle ground where maybe you don't have the knowledge or consistency too, and that's more of the same. But it almost always circles back to those two things that's bringing you to this point. So I think it's important to reflect on why I'm feeling stuck, why I don't think I can do this on my own, and then make sure that the program you're looking at is going to provide that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if people are curious what that looks like or what that could look like, if I'm really struggling with accountability, then I need to make sure I'm asking that potential coach what kind of contact and what frequency of contact they are going to be providing. Because if they're bringing me onto this program just to find out that it is touching base once a month and everything is, just online and at your own pace, then it's really going to put me right back in the same spot I was in when I felt all alone.
Well, there's a lot of programs out there that are designed very, very well, but don't actually include accountability
Yeah.
too. So if the reason you're stuck is because of consistency and accountability, that really well designed program probably isn't the solution for you. It doesn't matter how well the program's made. If you don't follow it, you're not going to get results. Right? Like most of this stuff is readily available on the internet for free now. If all you need is the knowledge, I mean, you can get there through lots and lots of research. Don't get me wrong, there's tons of bullshit to sort through to determine what is the right knowledge. So that's a whole nother obstacle. But there are programs out there on the internet for free that will get you to your result if you can do them consistently. So identify that. If it's a lack of accountability and consistency, then you need to be making sure that is a huge part of the program you're entering into.
Yeah. I also think, to be asking the question, what is required of me, or what will be required of me in this program? Because I think a lot of people go in with results in mind. They know what they want out of it in terms of what their body will look like or feel like, but they don't ask questions about what the process will look like.
For sure. Yeah. And as you know, and anybody who's worked with us, we have a really extensive intake process to kind of sort through this stuff. But if you're looking at programs that don't, then it's kind of on you, the consumer, to do the intake process on your own, because not every program, not every coach is going to be the right fit, and not every client's going to be the right fit. And we see it all the time, right? I don't want to sit here and lie to you guys. This program won't be the right fit for every single one of you listening to this. This program is designed for specific people, and we go through an extensive intake process to make sure that we can help you, we want to work with you, and that you are going to enjoy working with us. And so there's so much that goes into unpacking that and what that looks like, really. But if you buy into something blind, expect it to be a little bit complicated. There's going to be some learning curves. There's going to be a whole bunch of obstacles that you might face as you adjust to what that might look like. So one of the best examples that I can give, hopefully they don't sue me, is Weight Watchers is a pretty good program. It is a pretty good program. Like, if you break it apart and look at what that program is, it's pretty good. They have layers of accountability built in. You can go to your weekly meetings. They have support groups, but they don't have one-on-one accountability. So if you are somebody who historically struggles to hold yourself accountable, offering you a support group that you don't have to show up to might not be enough for you. For the person who is really self-motivated and knows they'll show up to all of those meetings and take part in that accountability group, it's a pretty good program. I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that. I'm also thinking too, the original question, what kind of questions should we be asking? I think about, will I be able to incorporate these things I love? Or will I be required to do these things that I absolutely either loathe or know that my body is not capable of?
Good call. Yeah, and so for sure, from an exercise standpoint too, right? Is it going to accommodate your limitations? But I always circle back to nutrition, because I think nutrition is most people's biggest hurdle. Is this something that I can realistically stick to for the long term? Is a huge one, because a lot of programs are going to promote a quicker fix, and that's fine for short term, but there has to be a transition out of that too. So if we're going to do something extreme for a short period of time, I'm okay with that, as long as the program is also going to teach you how to transition into what normal life should look like after the extreme portion. And that's where a lot of programs are lacking. They're just going to do the extreme quick fix until you fall off the rails. But we got you the results in those 30 days that we promised, and you had already told your friends about it, so we don't really care anymore. That's something you absolutely need to consider. If this is really extreme, what is it going to look like after? If it's not really extreme, do I think I can do this for life or for a really long time?
Very cool. This actually leads me into the next question that I wanted to ask you, which is what kinds of qualities should we be observing in a potential coach? And I'm saying it's leading me into that because you actually just answered it by saying that they should be telling you how they're going to set you up to do this on your own when the program finishes. Because if they're presenting something really intense and all they're willing to talk about is when you're on the program and when it is intense, then you know this is not necessarily something where they're taking into consideration the longevity of your health and the sustainability of what it is they're asking you to do.
Yeah, there has to be an educational aspect to any program. If meal plans are one of this industry's biggest scams, in my opinion. If I give you a meal plan that says you have to eat this, this, and this, there's no way in hell you're going to stick to that. Like, you could stick to it short term, don't get me wrong. Or if you're a professional athlete, or you're hoping to get on stage for a bodybuilding competition, you're going to be able to stick to that for the short term while you work with a coach. But it goes with that old saying that you can catch I'm gonna butcher the saying, so
I'm looking forward to this. Please try.
You can teach him, if you catch a fish for a man, he eats for a day. If you teach him how to fish, he eats for life. That's something along the lines
Totally.
of what
I was hoping that you were going to mix up the fish and the horse story.
There's so I need to do a side story here. There's something called a malaphor, and what it is, when you mix two of those sayings together into one saying. And there's a guy that a good friend of mine who does this all the time unintentionally. And so we have started using these malaphors intentionally all the time because it's so much fun. And my favorite one is that we'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
That's awesome.
Okay, so back on track. So this program has to have an educational component. You have to be able to learn how to do it on your own, or else you will always require the support of that coach or program, which isn't really realistic. And it doesn't give you any freedom. I mean, if I tell you what to eat for every single meal, and then you end up in an emergency or on the road or at a restaurant, it's like, oh crap, I can't eat that exact meal that the coach laid out. To me, it's a waste of your money. Don't ever buy a meal plan unless you're an athlete looking to compete in a specific event with a specific timeline.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up because we are creatures who desire autonomy. And in the beginning, we might want to be told what to do because we want to be led to success. But eventually, if all we have to do is follow exactly what someone tells us to do, those aggressions that we end up feeling are going to end up coming out sideways in our life, whether it's in relationship conversations, whether it's sabotaging the meal plan itself. We are quite creative in sideways aggression.
For sure. And I hear this often when I start a conversation with somebody, that I just want a meal plan. I just want to be told what to eat. Well, you probably don't want that, truthfully, if you really
Mhm.
think about what that means. But I can understand the convenience and the easiness of it at first. When you feel like you're really stuck or lost, or you don't know where to start, I can understand why that sounds appealing at first. But it's very unlikely that that's the solution for you.
Mhm. Yeah, we're probably more looking for ideas and inspiration about how to help ourselves than a strict plan. So I want to come back to the question and ask, like, what kinds of qualities should we be observing of our potential coach in the coach themselves?
Okay. Um, I think you need to look at the coach's philosophies and beliefs. And I don't even know if this answers your question directly, truthfully, but I think it's worth saying. I think you need to look at the coach's philosophies and beliefs, because in an industry like health and fitness, there isn't all, very often, a right or wrong, a cut and dry, this is the way. If you have a coach or program telling you that this is how you have to do it, it's probably bullshit. Um,
This is exactly what I was hoping you were going to touch on. So thank you. Keep going.
you need to have somebody who treats you as an individual human being with individual needs, and is willing to meet you somewhere in between where you're at and what is going to get you to your goals, right? And that's for nutrition and exercise. If I just give you a cookie cutter program that says you have to work out 5 days a week for the next 12 weeks, and I didn't get any background on you, what's the success rate of that? I don't know. It depends. It depends. If you're already crushing 5 days a week, then maybe you will. But if you're brand new to this and you aren't exercising, then there's a 0% chance you're going to stick to that.
Mhm.
So we need to look. There has to be some care into individual needs, and if you have dietary restrictions, and if you have sensitivities, and like, if you want to do something, like if somebody comes to me and says, I want to try fasting, okay, well, let's explore that. It
Mhm.
doesn't, like, there's not a right or wrong, but it a coach telling you that it's right or wrong is tough when you aren't the expert in the field and they're supposed to be the expert in the field.
Cool. I also think too, it's been said kind of between the lines. So I just want to spell it out for people. Is this potential coach asking you good questions about who you are and where you're at, right? You're saying they have to treat you like an individual. And I'm saying they should be poking around and asking questions to learn about you. Because if they're not, they're most likely just trying to get your butt in a seat in their program rather than really truly understanding what it is your needs are, or what your wants and desires are.
Yeah, and it's tough. I can kind of see this one from both sides. I mean, obviously, with a newer coach that just needs to fill their client roster, it's difficult, right? Because we work with busy women who want to learn how to lose fat sustainably. That's who we work with. We've been doing this now for like 6 years online. So, and I've been doing it much longer before that. So because we've been doing this a long time, we've been able to build up our client roster and demand that that is the person we work with, because that's where we've carved out our niche and really become experts in this. Could I help somebody outside of that niche? Absolutely. But it's going to take away from what our main goal and our main focus and our main purpose is. A new coach coming into this industry who's trying to get their first handful of clients is probably going to have to work with whoever they can to start
Mhm.
bringing money, to start putting food on the table. And they might not have the ability to dig as deep, because they have to charge less, and if we have to charge less, then we can't put as much time in, typically. So I do get it from both sides, but that should circle back to the fact that you're going to get what you pay for, right? If you are comfortable with the idea that you're working with a less experienced coach, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but just be aware of the differences. And if they're not asking these probing questions that Kelly's referring to, then it's up to you to do the research before you get into that program.
Nice. I love that you're talking about personal responsibility, because that's what this whole podcast is meant to be about today, is how can we be aware of what we need and how to ask for those things.
Yeah,
Cool.
of
Can I move to the next question?
course.
Okay. So what does timing have to do with things? When I'm choosing a weight loss program, talk to me about how time is an influence.
Cool. Most of the time you are going to reach out for one of these programs when you've hit an absolute breaking point and your motivation is at one of its highest, which is a little bit confusing. Something happened in your life that you're like, oh my God, I need to take action now. I'm making this call today. I'm buying this program today because I need to make change. My pants didn't fit anymore, or I had it's one of those moments that forced you to, the light bulb turned on.
Yeah.
And that, you need to be aware of that going into it, because motivation won't always be there. You're going to be really excited Monday morning to get started. Like it's always exciting to start a new program. It's never exciting Friday night. And so we have to be aware of that, especially over a month, especially once we get through that big win initial phase, that we're going to come into a lull. So jump on the motivation when it's there. Absolutely. As soon as you're ready to go, you need to go. Don't ever wait for a new day to start, but start building in those habits and skills, and make sure that the program you're buying into has those habits and skills that teach you what that's going to look like when motivation hits that lull a little bit. I have a second part to that, but is there anything you want to ask or add there?
No, this is great. Keep going.
Okay, so the second thing then is length of program. So obviously every program is going to have a different length. We typically see people start in our program on 90 days, 6-month or 12-month terms. What does your next 90 days look like? Is there a vacation in there? And I'm not saying that means you shouldn't do it. You probably should, because we need to learn how to navigate normal life too. But is it realistic for me to fulfill my expectations over this certain term that I'm committing to? Or am I setting myself up for troubles? And what could that potentially look like, right?
Very cool. Yeah. Okay, so then my next question is, when is the best time to start?
Like today, right now. If you're listening to this and this sparks something for you, start as soon as you start while you're listening to this episode.
Yeah.
I talked, so coming into these cohorts, I talked to a lot of different people who have questions or asking and inquiring, and so many people are talking about May 1st as like the day that they want to get started. Like tell me, and this podcast is going to air after May 1st. So think about 2023 for me. But tell me, what is going to be different for you on May 1st than today, than right now while you're listening to this? Other than the date on the calendar, the time on the clock, what is going to be really different for you? It's nothing. You're creating barriers and obstacles that you don't need to create. If you're feeling motivated, start moving right now. It doesn't need to be everything. Like I know you want to get your groceries. I know you want to do your meal prep. I know you want to have everything perfect, but the truth is you're never going to have it perfect. You have to take imperfect action, and we have to continue to take imperfect action, because it's never going to be 100% the way that you had envisioned it.
Yeah. Let's combine, just as an example, to the questions that we've talked about. If you're considering timing and you are a university student, a grad student, and you are in crunch time writing a thesis or writing 4 exams in 2 weeks, and you know that, studying and your whole life is just in a book in the next 2 weeks, then maybe you're right. Maybe it's not a good point to start, because you just need to survive this. And there isn't much peripheral, ability to look beyond the book itself. But if that's not the case, then why not start now? Because like you said, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have an inkling or an inner knowing that says, that's me. That's me. I've been putting off starting. That's me. I feel that frustration or that feeling of being stuck. And then just to kind of share a personal story here, when I began Breaking 90 just as a client, I was one of those people that said to you, well, I'll start, I think July 1st it was, I need to go out and get groceries. And you laughed at me on the phone, but very kindly, and just said, like, but you don't even know what you have to buy.
Yeah.
It's like, you're making some really good points here.
Yeah.
You know, you need the
Go ahead.
education to start.
Yeah. Yeah. And the truth is, I try to start the process as soon as somebody reaches out. The
Yeah.
coaching happens the whole way along. So I want to challenge that person. And I know that wasn't you. You were giving an example, but that grad student who doesn't have the time to start right now, it might not be the right time for you to jump into a full-fledged program like what we offer, but it is the right time to start.
Right.
Even if you don't have time to commit, there are changes you can make. Are you telling me you couldn't drink a little bit more water, or eat a few more servings of vegetables, or fit in a 20-minute walk, or sleep for an extra half hour? Like, the time to prioritize your health is now.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely might not have the capacity to jump into a full program, but if you're feeling like you need to make changes, you need to do it now. If you're setting a day in the future, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Thank you for bringing all of that up, because I think when people maybe even just see the title of the podcast, you know, how to choose a weight loss program, we make assumptions that we don't necessarily know we're making. So we might think like, well, joining a weight loss program means that I have to be on a meal plan and I have to be working out, you know, 5 to 7 days a week. And so these assumptions lead us to believe that we can't start right away because I can't fit that in as this grad student we're just talking about. We don't necessarily anticipate that a really healthy program is going to teach us about these lifestyle changes that you're talking about that don't involve a lot of time, that don't even necessarily involve money. You're talking about getting extra sleep and drinking water, right? And that's a big aha for a lot of people that join.
For sure. Yeah. It doesn't, we don't need to overcomplicate this. Pick one thing that you can start doing right now that if you did it consistently, it would have a big outcome.
Cool. So my last question was, what lifestyle factors should we consider in the decision-making process? And you've actually touched on that by answering all the other questions.
That's really important too. Is this program or this coach aware of my needs? Okay, so has this coach or program helped people similar to me in the past?
Yeah.
Because I've worked with lots of athletes in the past. So athletes who have the ability to make the rest of their life revolve around being an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So if I tell them that they need to get in 2 workouts that day or train for 90 minutes and then do a full meal prep that day, that's not an actual obstacle because they have the capacity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not who we work with in Breaking 90. We work with busy women who don't have that much time for the kitchen, for the gym. So has this coach or this program worked with who I am before, or are they going to give me this unrealistic type of standard to try to live up to, right? If you can exercise for 20 minutes most days, and I say exercise, walk, hike, stretch, bike, swim, workout, if you can do something for 20 minutes most days, and you can make some small nutrition changes, if you say yes to both of those, our program could probably help you. If you're looking to become a pro athlete, our program will not help you. It's not the right fit for you. But that's all part of being aware of what program you're looking into, what coach you're looking into.
Cool. You crushed it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is a great topic. I think people will get a lot out of it, but I'm curious too, if you guys have anything that you'd add to this list, or anything that you've come across when you're looking at a program that we didn't touch on today. I'd love it if you guys added it to our list, and we could certainly do a follow-up episode about this. So reach out to myself or reach out to Kelly. Let us know what you'd love to add to this list of questions when looking into a new program.
Cool.
So the one thing I want to add for just a little nutrition tip, if you're listening, We often struggle to get our vegetables in. We touched on vegetables a couple times today. A trick that I find helps is you guys have heard me talk about washing, chopping, and prepping them when we bring them into the house, but then going a step further and preparing them. So when we prepare vegetables, prepare enough for the next day too. Don't just prepare the broccoli for that night's dinner. Do twice as much so you have that left over in the fridge. What we do here is we make it easy, convenient, and delicious, but also there's the subconscious, or I guess conscious, decision that we don't want to waste food. Now we've prepared it, now we have to consume it. And this doesn't go for everybody, but if you know you're that person, if you have prepared food in your fridge and you struggle to let that go to waste, this is a really great tip. Bake a whole bunch of vegetables, put them in the fridge. You're likely to consume them before they go bad. The number of times I get on the phone with somebody and they say that they have a hard time throwing out their kids' chicken fingers that their kid didn't finish because they want to finish it, you reverse that. You flip the script. Well, prepare your healthy food so you don't want to waste it. It's the, yeah, exact same principle that you struggle with. Use it as a benefit.
Love it.
Okay, guys, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Share it with your friends, rate it, comment. Have a great day.